Guess what I'm baking? Jewelry. Ooh, this one's done. Hello everyone, welcome to my new video. My name is Jim McIntosh, and today we're going to be talking about Argentium Sterling Silver. Now, Argentium Sterling Silver has to be one of my favorite metals to work with. Why? Well, it's the versatility. I call it the wonder metal, actually. Because of its formula, Argentium Sterling Silver does not create fire scale when it's heated. And that makes it perfect for doing things like annealing, fusing, even soldering without having to use flux. But one of my favorite things about Argentium is the fact that I can use dead soft Argentium Sterling Silver and harden it with nothing more than my kitchen oven. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All we need is three things. We need the jewelry piece that we're working on with the stone removed. You don't want to place your stone in the oven because it's going to ruin the stone. It'll crack it, it'll fade it, it'll do so many other things to it. So you want to make sure that you remove the stone from the piece. You also need a soldering brick or some other way to diffuse some of the heat so that you can place your piece on top of the soldering brick as it's in the oven. And of course, the last thing you need is your ordinary, everyday kitchen oven. Now we'll set the oven to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 260 degrees Celsius. We'll place the metal on our soldering brick, and once our oven is preheated to 500 degrees, we'll take the piece and we'll set the brick and the piece in the oven. So here we go. Now all we have to do is wait. How long? Well, at 500 degrees, we'll keep it in there for 3 hours. Hey, it's done! Let's see what we got. Ooh, smells good. Well, now that it's out of the oven, we need to leave it alone for a little bit to let it cool down. Because we're going to be placing the piece of jewelry in a pickling agent, it has to be cooled down. Never put a hot piece of metal inside of your pickle pot because it's going to cause a huge mess. Once it's cooled, we'll go back into the studio to place it in the pickle. Now that we've taken our hardened metal out of the oven, you'll notice that it comes out with a slight residue on it. This residue comes from the heating process. To remove that residue from Argentium, we need to place it in pickle, which is inside this pickle pot. Now I want you to be very careful when using a pickling agent. Pickle is a mild acid. It will harm you. It'll hurt your skin. It will burn through clothing. So I want you to take precautions with that. Use tongs to put it in the pickle and remove it from the pickle. So all we'll do is we'll take the cooled piece off of our soldering brick and we'll place it in the pickling agent and we'll let it sit there. Now pickle works best when it's warm. So I got the pickling agent, my pickle pot, turned on for about 30 minutes before I needed it so that it would be warm enough when I was ready to put the piece in the pickle pot. Well, I've noticed that the residue has come off of the piece. So we'll take tongs again and we're going to go in and grab the piece out of the pickling agent. And we're going to put it in some clean water to rinse the residue off of the piece. So we'll make sure we get all that residue off. Now it's still going to have a haze to it, so there's another step that we need to do. Now that I'm done pickling the piece, I've rinsed the pickling agent off, and I took some red jeweler's rouge and I applied it to a polishing tip that I've inserted into my flex shaft. I polished the piece up really well, and now I'm just taking a polishing cloth and wiping off the excess polish from the piece to give it a nice shiny surface. All that's left now is taking the stone and resetting it in the piece. So all that's left is to reset the stone in our piece. Simply place the stone in between the prongs, centering it in the prongs. Sometimes you got to work it in there. And if not, you may have to open your prong. There we go. So we're going to start with this bottom right prong. And we're using flat nose pliers. I'm going to push the prong over the stone. Now, in order to keep everything centered, I want to go from this prong to the top left prong. That way we keep the stone centered in the piece. So you push that prong up and over. Now we'll go back to the bottom, to this bottom right prong, position it, and push this prong over the stone. And then we'll work opposite it to the top right prong, and we will push it up and over the stone. So you may have to go back and readjust them. There we go. So now what we've done is we've reset the stone in our piece. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our look into hardening Argentium. Till next time, I'm Jim McIntosh, and remember, practice, practice, practice.